Psych. A mouse changed my life.
Introduction. Okay, the title is a little exaggeratory. It wasn't just a mouse, it was my fear of sitting with the unknown. And it wasn't exactly changing my life, it just pointed me in the right direction. But the below story is certainly serendipitous, and it just goes to show the effect of one small creature can have. I will not profess to be the finished article, I'm just a little less broken than before. Whilst I do hope you glean motivation from my story, please know I'm still fighting, sometimes losing. But as long as we're facing the right direction, all we have to do is keep moving forward. So, firstly, there was the before. So, there's sleep. Delaying gratification is not easy with depression. It's hard to persuade yourself to get out of bed when it's not absolutely necessary. Why sacrifice today for tomorrow when tomorrow is at best likely to be the same as today, and at worst, well, worse? Sleep represented the known, and being awake represented the unknown. So it's safe to say my sleep cycle was screwed. I went to bed at early hours in the morning and I woke up late afternoon to early evening. I dreamt of beige, boring and monotonous, and it was everything I wanted it to be. It was the waking day that was my nightmare. The next was hygiene. Another stitch in my not so rich tapestry of misery was my hygienic routines. I've always had somewhat of a complex that I'm ostracised from people because I'm weird. In the midst of my severe depression and anxiety, I am hyper aware of this. One common theme in my mental illness is that I need control. So I felt people didn't want me around. This gave me immense anxiety as I did not know why. So poor hygiene would be, at some semi-conscious state, a way of me controlling the reasoning as to why people did not want me around. This was met by a permanent strong sense of self-loathing. To this end, poor hygiene was a form of self-mutilation. I deserve to look scruffy and smell. I deserve to have people avoid me at all costs. Heaven forbid the hygiene issue wasn't there and people found a more hidden and deeper rooted motive to avoid me. The outside met the inside. I wanted to be left alone to rot, and by the smell of it I was, mentally and physically. I was my own self-fulfilling prophecy. I was a mess and my bedroom reflected this. To quote Mike Skinner from the streets, it was wall to wall empty cans, takeaway boxes and rotten chicken. Clean clothes were hard to establish from worn for a week clothes, and this was not helped by my fashion sense being beige and each garment looking similar. The next was money. Money don't make my world go round. I'm reaching out to higher ground, to a warm and peaceful place where I can rest my weary face. 'Cause we're living in a crazy maze. Offers quotes aside, money is the materialistic bane of my life. I've had money and I've wasted it. Money gives opportunity, but to a highly anxious mind, opportunity gives uncertainty, and uncertainty kills. So every month I would get paid and it would keep me up all night. What if I can't pay me bills? What if I save loads of money and then lose it all? In the most severe of my anxiety, I would purposely spend all of my money. I would buy things I never wanted. I would treat people I didn't like and I would gamble. For me, the unknown of positivity was immensely worse than the known of abstract hell. I must be in control. This destructive behaviour led to me being in debt. The gambling was worse. I'd spend £70 a week on the roulette. I honestly didn't care if I won or lost. Even in profit, I still lost, as the bookies would always get it back. Ironically, the random result of where a ball landed on a computer screen gave me the sense of control. I could not control the outcome, no more than I can control the weather. but I can control when I walk out. If I come to terms with losing all my money, the gambling would scratch the itch of controlling how my money would be spent with the potential of winning big. I was wasting my money, but it was me wasting it. The control was the currency I traded in for real currency. It makes no sense. I would never try to verbally justify it in such a way, but internally that was my justification. For that hour in the bookies, all of my other anxieties went away. It was just me, the machine, and the Polish man next to me promising me number 27 was up next. It never was. Breaks. Now, for my downfalls, I have some breaks of real clarity of thought and control. My mind seems to like to give me breaks from depression. Maybe it started when I realised that I deserve kindness from myself. Or maybe my depression is one evil bastard slowly killing me. Let him recuperate, then we'll destroy him once more. I've yet to work that one out. During such periods of strength of mind, I try to be as progressive as possible. Do something today that your future self will thank you for, and all that shite. This has led to some helpful behaviour in the form of seeking therapy. It's also led to some flashes in the pan, such as my decision to spend £300 on a race bike that I cannot ride, only to fall outside of a bike shop and break my elbow. All of this aside, one thing I struggle with is the hangover from depressed Phil. In my time of strength, I am still in debt, still with a poor sleep-wake cycle, still in a poor hygienic routine, and still addicted to gambling. All of these things I thought defined my depression limit my progress in a state of clarity. For most people, being fat, scruffy, poor, and addicted to gambling is in itself enough to make them depressed. And of course, probably because of all of this, my time in clarity never lasted long. It's fucking genius, really. Kudos to my mind. During. I'm not afraid of mice per se. They're okay, as long as they stay the fuck away from me. What I am scared of is knowing that a mouse is nearby, but not knowing exactly where it is or when it will leave. So in other words, I'm scared of not having control of a situation. And a mouse in a ceiling brings forward that situation perfectly. Anyway, I was lying in bed, I was watching the world go by digitally on Facebook, when I heard a rustling in the ceiling. I could tell it was a rodent immediately, and a cold shudder went through me. The sound was unbearable. As it gnawed on the wooden beams, the sound seemed to permeate through my room. It was like an auditory illusion. I didn't know where it was coming from. I couldn't settle. It felt that the mouse was close to falling through the ceiling. I mean, realistically, rationally, if that would have happened, I'd have dealt with it. And by dealt with it, I mean I would have screamed like a little girl and then beat the little twat to death with my shoe. But the idea of it was a lot scarier than the reality, like needles or Americans. Luckily, this happened during a positive phase in my life where I felt in control. That said, the unmeasurable uncertainty of a rodent in a ceiling gives it seemed only a matter of time before my depression and anxiety came back. My mindset became focused on this little fucking pest. I targeted all of my hate towards it. It became worse at night, the hatred and the mouse. Around 10 p.m, the mouse would wake up. So for the first time in about 18 years, I had a curfew. I started to go to bed at 9:30 p.m, put my headphones on and I'd listen to the sound of rain. I'd wake up in the morning and the last place I would want to be would be in my room. So I'd leave for as long as I could. Every part of my life became focused on how to get rid of this pest. I couldn't concentrate on anything. I didn't feel depressed, but by proxy of the mouse, I was showing all of the symptoms: lack of appetite, lack of interest, and a lack of concentration. I stopped spending frivolously, which included stopping gambling, as I had nothing to avoid mentally apart from the very real problem of this mouse. Practically speaking, I had to take some preemptive steps. One would be to remove all food sources from my room. It embarrasses me to say, but in the midst of my depression, my room became the epicenter of my life. I used my room for everything. It became a bedroom, a games room, a changing room, and a kitchen. Luckily, not a bathroom yet. As a result of this, my room was a mess. I genuinely thought I got rid of all of the plates when Jordan Peterson told me to tidy my room, but on closer inspection, a few were still hidden. I finally tidied and cleaned my room. So, in the space of 3 weeks, this mouse had turned my life into one of external torment. This was novel. I was used to the torment being internal. We found a hole in the garage door. We sealed it off and put down poison. Within a few days, all sound of it was gone. It made such an impact on my life, but left in such a whimper. Like most tests in life, it sees what you were made of. You were either good enough or not, and then it leaves. All things must end. So that was that. My life went back to normal. And that's the end of the story. Aftermath. Well, not exactly. You know how I said before, when my bouts of depression alleviated, I was still struggling with the hangovers from it? The financial situation, the poor sleeping hygiene, the poor hygiene, the gambling, etc. I always thought that even in my clear days, I was unable to change them because they were bigger than me. They were stronger than me. They overridden mere positive thoughts. After all, they were real life problems. I can't positively think myself out of my overdraft. But here I sat in my room, my clean and tidy room, with me sitting there, clean and tidy, going to sleep at a respectful hour, with a more appropriate amount of hours of sleep ahead of me. I think the sound of rain helped me silence my thoughts. As a result of this, my days were more energetic and productive. My urge to financially self-destruct had gone. I'd seen my bank balance stay at a level which meant that I could live relatively comfortably, as long as I die by April. This showed my anxieties that no horrible fraudster is going to rob all of my money. I'd gotten used to departmentalising my problems and writing them down. In terms of external uncertainty, writing had always calmed me down. I'd even managed to pay off some of my overdraft out of pure boredom. Overall, I was happier and feeling in control. Made me think I should be grateful to that little mouse. I shouldn't have killed him. Nah, I'm happy the little cunt is dead. For years, in my clear times, I tried to find something new, punching outwards at things not already in my psychological backpack. What this bastard mouse taught me is to fix the fixable. Look to improve aspects of life that permeate through depression and clear times. It's just as much about helping myself in times of clarity as it is about times of depression, as both things are not mutually exclusive. I'll surely be depressed again, and possibly soon, but this time my habits will have changed for the better. So when the ice of depression comes, my habits will not be frozen by depression. More so, depression will need to thaw out my positive habits, which may offer me respite. Maybe I needed this experience to iron out the creases in my life. If you are in depression right now, fight the hard fight. To fight your mind is not a noble thing. You will not get plaudits for it, but it is fucking hard. Depression is also the fighting of big problems. Existentialism and nihilism. Often real life problems are not focused on. Why would they be? It's hard to care about being in debt when in debt doesn't matter. But my advice from what I've learned and benefited from is in times of clarity, recognise it, but don't just enjoy it. Fix the fixable. It will make you feel better in the moment, give you some time, give you some immediate gratification, but that's not the point. It will harm you when depression returns. Depression is a magnifying glass. If you shrink or obliterate your problems, then maybe your depression will have less things to cling on to, or at least you will have less frames of reference when trying to convince yourself that you're worthless. But what do I know? I'm scared of a fucking mouse.